Do we need to flip the fraction for our bill work? How do you know? It's not division. So all we're going to do is factor. And the only thing that can be factored in this particular example is the x squared minus 9. And then this has a GCF. So let's go ahead and start breaking that down. So I have my numerator. That does not change. I'm just going to write those straight across, because everything in the top is already factored. So now let's start factoring our denominator. X squared minus 9. That's a pattern. X squared minus 9. That is a pattern. If we could please put away our phones for the next few minutes, I would appreciate it so much. So what would that factor down to? Anybody know what x squared minus 9 factors down to? It's a pattern. Yep, x minus 3, x plus 3. And then what I have highlighted in green, that the only thing we could do here is take out our GCF. And what can I divide out of 3x plus 6? 3, good job, thank you. So when I divide both of these terms by 3, I have a 3 and I have an x plus 2. Now everything is fully factored. We can start crossing things out. What's something I can take away? It has to be top and bottom. X plus 3. X plus 2. All right, let's take that away. X minus 3. Anything else? Nope. All right, so my final answer would be x minus 2 in the top. And in the bottom, I have the x plus 3 and the 3. And of course, you can move that 3 to the front also. And that will be your final answer. So last week, we multiplied and divide. And this week, we're going to add and subtract. Adding and subtracting is a little bit harder because we need a common denominator. All right, so we're going to do a few questions today. We're going to spend the whole week practicing this skill. Your test is next week on Wednesday. So let's go to page 7. And there's a lot of words on page 7, but the main thing I need for you to know is that add and subtract, you need a common denominator. If you add and subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. And that's only for addition and subtraction. So last week we multiplied and divide, we didn't need a common denominator. But now we're adding and subtracting, and we do. All right, so let's do our first one. This is a monomial. Monomial means that your denominator doesn't have a plus or a minus. Notice that this first fraction just has a 4b. That's just one thing. Mono means one. One thing, 4b. One term, I should say. Even though it's two things being multiplied, because it's multiplication, this only counts as one term. 10 is one term. So that's monomial. So what we're going to do is break down each one. So let's start off with the 4b. 4b can be broken down to a 2 times 2 times b. What I'm doing is breaking it down to the factors. So the factors in 4b would be 2 times 2 times b. And then my factors in 10 are simply 2 times 5. And I'm not lighting up the 5 because you only line up terms that are the same. So I can put the 2 here, but the 5 is something different that I don't have. So when I'm creating my LCD, it has to have every single term that you see listed above. So they both have a 2. So we are going to include a 2. And then we need to include another 2 and another b. And then the one thing that the 10 had that the 4b didn't have, or another thing that it had, was a 5. That's my LCD. This LCD stands for least common denominator, by the way. Let me write that. Least common denominator. That's what LCD stands for. All right, so what is 2 times 2 times 5? Pick up your calculators. 2 times 2 times 5. $20B. That's my LCD. So when I do my answer, that's going to be my denominator. All right, so now let's start doing it. So my first fraction is 7a over 4b. So in order to get 20b, the only thing I need to multiply 4 by, what do I need to multiply by 4 to get to 20? Show me with your fingers. What do I have to multiply by 4 to get to 20? A 5. So let's do that. So I'm going to multiply this fraction top and bottom by 5 because remember, I'm trying to get that 20b. Bring down the addition sign. Then I have 4c squared over 10. All right, what do I have to multiply by 10 to get to 20? Show me with your fingers. What do I need to multiply by 10 to get to 20? I got one person. Anybody know? 2. And if you're not sure, you can also look at your chart. So I have to multiply this fraction by 2, but I also need to multiply it by b because that one did not have the b. Can you click that for me? All right, so now let's go ahead. Our fraction has our denominator, 20b. Now let's go across. We have to multiply this together. What is 7a times 5? What do you think 7a times 5 is going to give you? 7 times 5 is what? 35, yep. So 7a times 5 is 35b. Bring down the addition sign. And now I have to multiply these two terms. 4c squared times 2b. So all you can do is multiply your numbers and then put the variables behind it. So 4 times 2 would be 8. And then I have to put the b, and I have to put the c squared. And that would be my final answer. Now adding and subtracting, I do know it's a little bit harder, but that's why we're going to practice this all week. You do have a skills check tomorrow. The skills check is only over multiplying and dividing though, not adding or subtracting. All right, let's look at part B. First thing we have to do is figure out our LCD. So I have 9y. 9y can be broken down. 9 can be broken down to 3 times 3 times y. That's what 9y is. And then I have a 6z. Well, that's the same as 2 times 3 times z. So the only factor that they both had was a 3. That's the only thing they both had was a 3. So my LCD is going to have that 3. And then it's going to have everything else that I didn't circle. It's going to have a 2, another 3, a y, and a z. So I have to put all of that together because they don't have those things. So I got to put a 2, another 3, a y, and a z. So they both had a 3. So we can take that out. And then you have to add everything else that it didn't have. So I brought down, I started with this 3, and then the 2 that I highlighted, I put here, and then this 3 that wasn't highlighted, I brought that down, and then the y and the z. All right, so let's multiply our numbers. 3 times 2 times 3. What is 3 times 2 times 3? 18. So my LCD, my least common denominator, is 18yz. All right, so now let's multiply it. So I have 2x over 9y. What do I have to multiply by 9 to get to 18? Show me with your fingers. What am I multiplying by 9 to get to 18? 2. What else am I missing, though, in my denominator? I'm missing a variable. Did you say x? So here, no, it's not x. So over here, which one of these letters in green am I missing? We got a y, a z. We didn't have a z, so we got to multiply it by z. And I try to make sure my 2 and z look different, so you should also do the same, because 2 and z can look really close together. So I always put a line through my z for that reason. Bring down your subtraction sign. Now I have 7y over 6z. All right, so what do I multiply by 6 to get to 18? Show me with your fingers. What am I multiplying by 6? And if you're not sure, look at your multiplication chart. Look in the 6's. How far down do I have to go to get to 18? Yep, 3. So I have to multiply this one by 3. Now, this second fraction has a z. But what doesn't that fraction have? What letter? A y. So I have to multiply this one top and bottom by y. All right, so now we're ready to bring it together. So my final answer, the denominator is going to be 18yz, because both of these multiply to give you 18yz. So we got that. Now let's highlight or multiply straight across. So what do you think you're going to get when you multiply that? What you see highlighted in green? 2x times 2z. 4xz. Yep, that's all you have there. We have 2 times 2, which is 4, a x and a z. Bring down your subtraction sign. Now we're going to highlight or multiply these two. 7y times 3y. 7y times 3y. 7 times 3, multiply that in your calculator. What do you get? 21. And what's y times y? Y squared. And that would be your final answer.
Miss?
Yes.
Does it matter what you put the variable on? Like, if you put 2y and what does it matter?
It does matter. So what you're doing is you're looking at your denominator and you're adding the variable that's not there. So because this first fraction already had a y, it's not letting me point. Because this first fraction already has a y, then I don't need to add a y. I need to add a z. Because that's what this has that this didn't have. So I have to multiply. So you're not looking at the top. You need a common denominator. And you're asking yourself in the denominator, what do I need to multiply by 9y to get to 18yz? And my denominator for the first one was missing a 2 and a z. Then when you look at the second one, again, you're only looking at the bottom. The bottom had a 6z, but I need that. So it had a 6z, so I had to multiply it by the 3 and the y. Does that make sense? So just make sure that you're not looking, I'm not looking at the top at all. When I'm trying to figure out what I'm multiplying by, I'm only looking at my denominator. All right, good question. All right, 2 more. We're going to practice this all week because I do know adding and subtracting is a lot harder than multiplying and dividing. All right, so for this one, now we have what we call a binomial. So this counts as one term also because there is an addition sign. And this is one term. So this time my LCD would be an x plus 5, and I don't need to break it down because it's groups. So x plus 5, and that's already factored, and x minus 3. So that's what my denominator has to have in my final answer. All right, so I have 1 over x plus 5. So let me stop here. What is down here? Wait, what is missing here that I wrote over here? So I have this, but what don't I have? What'd you say? X minus 3. So that's why I have to multiply this first fraction by x minus 3. And I like to write it out before I start multiplying. Then I'm going to bring down that plus sign, and I'm writing my second fraction. What is this fraction? What is this fraction missing? So the first fraction was missing an x minus 3. But this fraction is missing what? X plus 5. So we're going to multiply that one by x plus 5. All right, so now we are ready to finish it out. So I'm starting to write my answer. I'm going to put my denominator. I only have to put my denominator one time. Now let's start cleaning it up. When I multiply the 1 by x minus 3, what is 1 times x minus 3? If you multiply something by 1, does it change? Yes, no. Which one? Does it change when you multiply a number by 1? No. So I'm just going to put the x minus 3 at the top. We don't need parentheses anymore. Bring down the plus sign. But this one, I have to multiply it by 2. So I have to take 2 times x and 2 times 5. So 2 times x is 2x. What's 2 times 5? 10. All right, so now everything is multiplied. All I need to do is combine my like terms. So one more. And you can write yours going down. I just want to go across, but you know. All right, looking up here, do I have any like terms? Anything that I can add together? I have an x and a 2x. Do you agree that they're like terms? So this has an invisible 1. 1 plus 2 would be a 3. And then we have a minus 3 and a plus 10. What's minus 3 plus 10? Negative 3 plus 10. Anybody know? 7. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. If not, I would just be talking to myself. All right, and that would be my final answer. That's it. One more and then we'll wrap it up for today. If you look at homework 2, it's really short because we do realize that these take a lot more time than multiplying and dividing. All right, last one for today. Now we're subtracting. My LCD is x minus 4 and x plus 6. All right, what do you think I'm multiplying this first fraction by? Keep in mind, my denominator needs both of these. So what do you think I'm missing down here? I have an x minus 4, but what don't I have? X plus 6. Now we're starting to sound more like a choir, so I know we're getting it. I'm not going to multiply it yet. Just going to leave it there. Now, because this is a minus sign, I'm going to treat this a little different. I'm going to change it to a plus, and I'm going to move that negative up to the numerator. And that's what I want you to do whenever you see subtraction. So I think that's easier for you. So when you add a negative, that's the same as subtraction. So we're going to move that -3 up. All right, so now what am I missing down here that I wrote for my LCD? X minus 4. So we're going to multiply this one by x minus 4. All right, let's finish it up. So my denominator is the x minus 4 and the x plus 6. So for my first fraction, I'm going to take x times x. What is x times x? X times x is what? Somebody over here. What's x times x? X squared. Bring down the plus sign. What's x times 6? Because there is a plus sign in between that. What's x times 6? Sean, what do you think x times 6 is? 6x. Now I'm going to multiply this second one. -3 times x. So -3 times x. Angie, what do you think -3 times x is? -3x. And then lastly, I have a -3 times a -4. So Gabe, what do you think -3 times -4 would be? Okay. So now that everything is multiplied, it'll let me write the 2. The only thing we have to do now is look for like terms. So the only like terms I have are these 2 terms in the middle. We can combine those. So my final answer, and then I am done. I'm going to write my LCD at the bottom. Would be x squared. Okay, what's 6x minus 3? Plus 6 minus 3. 3x. And a plus 12. And that would be my final answer. Now, I personally feel like these are a little easier than the first 2. So when you're doing your homework for today, I just want you to try and do 3 and 4. Use pencil, but the only questions I want you to focus on today are 3 and 4 in your homework. Homework 2, can you write, is due on Monday. If you haven't turned it in already, homework 1 is due today.